on the way to the Last Supper. Most of what Jesus taught that morning was not understood. Even his 11 apostles were bewildered by his references to future political kingdoms and successive generations of believers. Some of them began to realize that the greatest tragedy ever was about to happen, but they could not reconcile this impending disaster with the cheerful, untroubled demeanor their master displayed at that moment. They did not understand what Jesus meant by the long time span of many generations. During the midday meal, the entire camp was informed of Lazarus's hasty flight from Bethany. Everyone sensed the grim atmosphere emanating from the Jewish leaders. David Zebedee was informed through his contacts in Jerusalem about the arrest warrant and the confirmed death sentence without a trial. He was also told in detail about the role the apostle Judas played in this plot. But he revealed this knowledge to no one. Shortly after the midday meal, he took Jesus aside, mustered the courage, and asked him if he knew whether. But he couldn't finish his question. Jesus interrupted him by raising his hand and said, "Yes, David, I know everything, and I know that you know too, but do not tell anyone. Only do not doubt in your own heart that the will of God will ultimately prevail." Around this time, Philip came to Jesus with the question of where he wanted to hold the Passover meal. And when Jesus heard this question from Philip, he replied, "Go to Peter and John and bring them here. Then I will give you instructions about the meal we will share tonight." When Judas heard the master talking about the evening, he moved closer to listen to their conversation. But David Zebedee, who was also nearby, walked over to Judas and started a conversation with him, while Philip, Peter, and John went a little aside to speak with the master. Jesus said to the 3 apostles, "Go now to Jerusalem, and when you enter the gate, you will meet a man carrying a water jug. He will speak to you, and then you must follow him. When he brings you to a certain house, you should go inside and ask the master of the house, 'Where is the upper room where the master will eat the meal with his apostles?' Then the master of the house will lead you to a large upper room, fully furnished." When the apostles arrived at the city, they met the man with the water jug at the gate and followed him to the house of John Mark, where the boy's father received them and showed them the upper room, which was fully prepared for the evening meal. This all took place according to an arrangement that Jesus and John Mark had made the previous afternoon when they were together in the mountains. Jesus wanted to ensure that he could have this last meal undisturbed with his apostles, and he made this secret arrangement with John Mark because he believed that if Judas knew their meeting place in advance, he might pass the address to the temple guards so they could arrest him there. Now Judas only learned of the location when he arrived there in the company of Jesus and the other apostles. Around 4:30, the 3 apostles returned and reported to Jesus that everything was ready for the evening meal. Jesus and his 12 apostles prepared to go to Jerusalem. To avoid the crowds on the way to the city gate, they took a narrow goat path that led from Bethany to Jerusalem. When they came near the place where Jesus had told them the night before about the destruction of Jerusalem, they involuntarily stopped and silently looked down at the city. Since Jesus did not want to enter the city before sunset, and they were a bit early, he said to his companions, "Sit down and rest while I speak with you about what is soon to happen. All these years we have lived as brothers, and I have taught you the truth of the kingdom of heaven and revealed its secrets to you. And my Father has done many wondrous things through me. You have witnessed all of this and gained the experience of being a worker in the kingdom. Very soon I must return to my Father, and I have often told you that I must leave you in this world. For I have chosen you to continue the work of the kingdom. It was for this purpose that I set you apart. Now prepare yourselves to go out and make known the good news to all nations. Just as the Father has sent me into this world, so I now send you out to represent me and to complete the work that I have begun. You now look down on the city below us in sorrow because you have heard my words about the end of Jerusalem. I have warned you in advance so that you will not perish in its destruction. I now warn you seriously not to needlessly expose yourselves to danger in the coming hours. For the Son of Man will be arrested. I must go, but you must remain to bear witness to this gospel after I have gone. I warn you, just as I also instructed Lazarus to flee from the wrath of the people, so that he might live to proclaim the glory of God. If it is the Father's will that I go, then nothing can thwart this divine plan. Be very careful that they do not kill you too. Let your soul be brave in defending the gospel with spiritual power, but do not be tempted to make any foolish attempts to defend the Son of Man. I do not need human hands to defend me. The heavenly hosts are always with me and immediately available, but I am determined to do the will of my Father in heaven, and therefore we must submit to what will soon come upon us. When you see this city destroyed, take comfort in the thought that my kingdom is eternal, and that its inhabitants will survive natural death. They will rise and live forever, with unending service in the ever-progressing kingdom of heaven. Yes, they will ascend even to the heaven of heavens. In my Father's universe, there are many dwelling places, where the ascending children of light await the revelation of cities whose builder is God, and of worlds where the way of life is righteousness and where joy is found in truth. I have brought the kingdom of heaven to earth. But I tell you that everyone who enters it by faith and remains in it by living in truth will surely ascend and sit with me in the spiritual kingdom of our Father. Very soon you will have to endure much adversity, and you will experience much sorrow. But when you have completed your work on earth, you will enter into my joy, just as I have completed the work for my Father on earth, and am about to return to his joy. As Jesus spoke these words, the sun set. They stood up and descended the Mount of Olives. Without any problems, they passed through the city gate of Jerusalem, and then, protected by the falling darkness, they walked through the narrow streets. The crowd swirled around them, but no one recognized them, and no one knew that the Son of God was passing by on his way to his Last Supper.